you all know what I am here to talk about. Very rarely will I go out on a limb and make a hard stance. Very rarely will I say, this is the best value in drafts, or this is the worst value in drafts. But Quinton Johnston was being drafted around wide receiver 70 in underdog drafts this year. I made my entire brand. I doubled down. I tripled down. It doesn't matter even after they signed Keenan Allen. We went in on the big Q, and I have a good chance at retiring early, and you have a good chance of this being my last ever year where I'm giving you these live streamed updates every single night, because honestly, I may be living in the Bahamas 12 months from now. Let's go through. Let's talk about what happened in the game, because there are actually some implications from a redraft perspective that we have with waiver wire pickups that I need to be updating my rankings with. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs, I know typically we go quarterback, running back, wide receiver, yada, yada, yada. We usually go that way. I almost want to skip right ahead of what's going to matter. And that's going to be the Xavier Worthy injury. You can see that Xavier Worthy does not show up on the box score, logging a reception, logging a receiving yard. Now, of course, I'm assuming every single person watched this game because it was on YouTube. So if you spend your time watching this YouTube channel, however, you did not take the time to watch the Chiefs-Chargers game, maybe you were working. I don't exactly know, but I don't know what you're doing with your life. Anyway, Xavier Worthy gets injured at the very beginning of the game. Xavier Worthy is going to be missing quite some time from what I saw. So honestly, looking at the other wide receivers, all of a sudden, Hollywood Brown looks very interesting, because now you have no Rashee Rice. Now you have no Xavier Worthy. And trust me, I thought Worthy was an auto start. I thought Worthy was an absolute smash with no Rice. And clearly, we need to update that. And Hollywood Brown's the guy instead. So I need to go through, figure out where exactly are we moving Hollywood to in our rankings. Because I previously had Hollywood Brown as someone that you couldn't consider starting. I did not even rank Hollywood Brown inside our top 50 wide receivers this week. Like, let me see where the expert average has him on flockfantasy.com. Is he even rostered in our league? As I, delay here, or as I stall to see if Hollywood Brown's rostered in our league and who would have him. I want to remind y'all, if y'all have not already linked your team with flockfantasy.com to see the updated power rankings in your league, go ahead and do it. If you play on Sleeper, if you play on Yahoo, if you play on ESPN, should be super easy. And you can see the best waiver wire pickups in your league. You can see the power rankings in your league. You can see your team by position, blah, blah, blah. Flockfantasy.com. You already know this. But Hollywood Brown previously was wide receiver 60 in the expert average rankings. And if we go through and if we look at what we've had from Hollywood recently, last year for the Chiefs have only 2 relevant games in the regular season, being week 16 and week 17, where he goes through and he really doesn't run any routes. He barely has any usage at all. And we go back and look at what he was his final year at Arizona. He was the wide receiver 48 in points per game. But with that being said, I mean, you can give him the benefit of the doubt in saying every year beforehand, when he was healthy, he was a borderline top 24 wide receiver. So as I go through and as I look at, let me see where I have him ranked real quick. And because we're going to have to pull up my rankings, we're going to have to update them as well. So Thomas had him, and Thomas had, I had Hollywood ranked at wide receiver 63. Apparently I was even lower than the expert average, which let me go to my create rankings page and let me fix that ASAP. So let's slide this down. And we had a Hollywood Brown at 63. This point, I would rather have Hollywood over Jaden Higgins. I would rather have Hollywood over Keon Coleman. I'd rather have Hollywood over Jaden Reed. He slides in here with like Jacoby Myers, Khalil Shakir, Jawan Jennings. Can y'all please let me know, who would you rather have rest of season? Spam the chat. Would you rather have Hollywood Brown or Jacoby Myers? And I know obviously we're going off the high where Hollywood had 16 targets. He had 99 receiving yards. He had 10 receptions. 16 targets from Patrick Mahomes is super exciting. But to be fair with this, while Hollywood may be inside the top 24 wide receivers for me over the next few weeks with my weekly rankings, as I rank this rest of season, we do have to acknowledge that you have 5 games with no Rashee Rice. Once Rice comes back, I don't know how excited we can be about Hollywood. I don't think those 16 targets are going to be there. And also, it's not like we've seen Xavier Worthy get ruled out for the season, right? We have no idea how long Xavier Worthy is going to be out. So, I don't want to move like Hollywood into the Josh Downs, Jerry Jeudy, Matthew Golden range because realistically, once Rice is back in, these wide receivers will smoke him. So I'm going to put Hollywood right around here in my weekly rankings this next week. If you have no Rice and you have no Worthy, Hollywood will probably be a lot closer to like wide receiver 28. But obviously, once Worthy and or Rashee Rice come back in, I don't know how excited we can be about Hollywood, but massive, massive riser at this point, obviously. Now, let's move him over and let's talk about quarterback. And actually, we got to drop Worthy in our rankings. I have not been able to find any official report on like how long we should expect Xavier Worthy to be missing. You go through and I search Xavier Worthy on Twitter. All I have is people complaining that their parlays didn't hit because Xavier Worthy got injured, going out there making Mr. Beast memes with Xavier Worthy. NFL memes going out there. That's a little rude. All I see is memes with Xavier Worthy. We got Spencer says 2 to 3 weeks from Twitter Docs. We got Visual says 4 to 6 weeks. I don't know, but regardless, obviously we need to move Worthy down our rankings because previously I had Worthy as an auto start with no Rashee Rice, but realistically, if we're going to have Worthy only really playing this season with Rashee Rice anyway, like, I would rather have Waddle. I'd rather have Igbuka. I'd rather have Ridley. I'd rather have Flowers. I'd rather have Rome. I'd rather have, like, he falls down to, like, the Chris Olave range. Like, spam the chat real quick. Who would you rather have rest of season? Would you rather have Stephon Diggs or Xavier Worthy? Honestly, if Corey has Xavier Worthy in the Flock League, if he offered me Worthy for Diggs, I have Diggs, I would reject it. I would rather have Diggs at this point. If he offered me Worthy for Jerry Jeudy, I may rather have Jerry Jeudy. I think you'd maybe rather, I think honestly, if we're looking at Worthy versus Godwin, if they're going to come back in about the same time, you'd rather have Godwin because Godwin's given us the elite production where Worthy really never has. So I think I'm going to move Worthy down to like inside the wide receiver 40-ish range. Obviously, I update these rankings on flockfantasy.com every single day. So we're just going out here and we are just spitballing this at this point. We are just trying to piece this together and do our best guesses. But if we are just speculating on the Worthy injury and we think that he could be out a couple months, I think Worthy's right here next to like Hollywood, Michael Pittman Jr., Jaden Reed, Jacoby Myers. I think he's in tier G for us. And then also with that in mind, now I want to remind y'all, what happens all the time in fantasy football is people see the suspended player, see the player coming back from the injury, and then they get excited to draft them in their draft because they're thinking long-term upside. But then once we're actually in weeks 1, 2, and 3, and you're submitting your starting lineups and you're actually thinking about what it looks like to fill a lineup out, you see people kind of let Rashee Rice go to the back of their mind and not really value Rashee Rice how they should. Like, you almost see the value dip as he doesn't play games, where it should just steadily be rising as he gets 1 week closer to returning. So Rice, whenever I upload my post week 1 rest of season rankings, may move up to like wide receiver 24, wide receiver 23. Now, Patrick Mahomes, I had him ranked as QB6 going into this game inside the same tier with Baker, Bo Nix, Kyler Murray. it's nice to see the rushing ceiling. Like, obviously, Mahomes out there lowering his shoulder. I mean, he is just being a bully out there. He just looked frustrated, to be honest. But you get about 12 points just from Mahomes running the ball. And then obviously Mahomes goes out there and he has a good day passing. And I have to sit here and take my massive L. I thought this pick'em was good. $50 to turn into $400 on Underdog. Travis Kelce for fewer than 50.5 receiving yards. Hampton to have higher than 9.85 fantasy points. Mahomes to have lower than 19.45. We'll talk about Hampton in a second. But clearly, this was garbage. I lost $50. I am horribly sorry if you tailed us on this. And I'm horribly sorry to let you know that when Underdog drops their 100% profit boost token tomorrow, I'm going to be telling you my pick'em there, and you can honestly maybe inverse me if you want. I'm not going to fault you for it. But with Mahomes, like, realistically, I don't know if I'm going to be moving him down based off this performance, but I may be moving him down based off the Worthy injury. Just because all of a sudden you have no Rice as well as you have no Worthy. Hollywood Brown and decrepit Travis Kelce are top two options. Like, I think I'd rather have Bo Nix over Patrick Mahomes at this point. So I'm going to be moving Mahomes down to QB8 based off this Worthy injury and just based off how the offense looked in general. And let's move this over to the running backs in Casey. So we talked about Pacheco in our rankings saying, I don't know if this guy has the juice left. I know people want to just blame the injury, but I'd rather see it before we believe it when it comes to putting him in our starting lineup. Pacheco may just be dust. It may be over with Pacheco. Kareem Hunt was one of my most drafted running backs on Underdog this year in round 18, and I feel phenomenal about it. Like, this game for my Underdog bags, other than the pick'em that we had today, which is horrible. But we got a lot more money than $50 in Underdog best ball drafts. And dear God, Kareem Hunt is looking like he may be giving us some usable weeks because this is our running back by committee. Pacheco, you get 5 carries in comparison to Kareem Hunt with 5. Pacheco, you get 3 targets in comparison to Kareem Hunt with 3 targets. For the mathematicians out there, that is 8 total opportunities to 8 total opportunities. Now, obviously, Pacheco's a little feisty runner when he's out there. You can see him going for every little inch. But the fact of the matter is, if this offense just got worse and Pacheco's in a full-blown committee, I had Pacheco at RB24. I'm dropping him down a tier because it's not like he's Caleb Johnson. Obviously, I'd way rather have Pacheco in the short term than Caleb Johnson. But at least with Caleb Johnson, you can go, oh, okay, well, he's going to expand his role as time goes on. It's a committee with Jalen Warren where Warren's the starter early, and then it's going to be Caleb later. Like RJ Harvey, right? You can say like, oh, it's J.K. Dobbins early, and then we're going to assume that RJ Harvey expands his role. Why the hell would they expand Pacheco's role as the season goes on if they're not just using him right now? So I don't know if Pacheco's startable outside of great matchups. Like, spam the chat. Who would you rather have rest of season, Aaron Jones or Isaiah Pacheco? As I stall to wait for y'all to let me know, I will remind you, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. Every single primetime game, I'll be live streaming a recap talking about fantasy football lessons learned. After all the Sunday games, I'll be posting a video for the fantasy football lessons learned as well. I'm not going to miss you on a single Monday night game, single Thursday night game, or a single Sunday slate. Promise you I'll be talking about the updates every single day and live streaming answering questions every single day. So make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button to know when we go live. But we got Pacheco, Jones, Jones, Pacheco, Jones, Pacheco, Jones, Pacheco. It looks like it's split. I think he belongs right there with Aaron Jones, Javonte Williams. And honestly, one more performance like this, I'm flipping him and Javonte. Like, Javonte is the massive riser up. Pacheco is the massive faller down through the first 2 weeks. And then looking at Kareem Hunt, I dropped Kareem Hunt in the Flock League before this game. I would rather have Kareem Hunt over Chris Rodriguez at this point. I'd rather have him over Jaden Blue. I think we have Kareem Hunt like RB56 as a quality roster spot in deeper formats. Now, let's move over and talk about the Chargers. And this is where, oh, dear God, y'all know we are rolling. Let me see exactly where Quinton Johnston is in terms of my most drafted players this year. And we never talk about Quinton Johnston in videos because my thought process was, in Underdog Best Ball drafts, if Quinton Johnston's getting drafted as wide receiver 70, and I think he can be the wide receiver 30, he can win us a ton of money. But even if he has the upside to be the wide receiver 30 in your regular ESPN league, in your regular Yahoo league, in your regular sleeper league, he's not really going to make that big of a difference for you. That was my thought. But maybe, just maybe, Quinton Johnston can be better than the wide receiver 30. Sorted by entry fees and sorted by percent drafted, Quinton Johnston, my most drafted player, and he finished the offseason with an ADP of wide receiver 79. If Quinton Johnston does not do another thing through the entire year, he has already returned value and he has already been a good pick for us. He could literally get injured and go down for the season tomorrow. For a round 17 pick, like your wide receiver, the wide receiver 79 off the board to give you 2 receiving touchdowns, 5 receptions, and about 80 receiving yards out the gate, you to get 23 points from him in a single week, couldn't be better. Let's not even talk about the possibility of him actually knowing how to hold on to a ball and potentially having a 3 touchdown performance. Do you have any? I wouldn't have showed up to this live stream. Here's what I would be doing right now. We go, hey, realtor, I'm thinking 4-bedroom. Yeah, I'm going to need a pool. Yeah, it's probably needs to be gated. I'm going to have armed security out front for sure. I would be so rich I wouldn't even have showed up if he scored that 3rd touchdown. Now, I think you have to pick him up in redraft leagues. Of course, I am extremely biased. I am maybe the most biased person you're going to come across. But after seeing this performance, I would rather have Quinton Johnston over Shaheed. I think he's right there with like Darnell Mooney, Cooper Kupp, Jaden Higgins, Keon Coleman. Now, is he like a must-add player? Do you absolutely need to jam him in? No. Because the realistic situation here with Quinton Johnston, and this is what sucks about it, is while I can sit here and I can make jokes, I don't think he's actually going to turn into a top 24 wide receiver. I don't think he's actually going to be someone that you can jam in every single week. I think you're going to get some random good performances like this and then a lot of duds. Which in Underdog Basketball Drafts, if you were drafting him with us, that's exactly what we wanted. We're getting exactly what we asked for. Love to see it. But when it comes to like me updating my top 50 wide receiver weekly rankings next week, I promise you Hollywood Brown's going to be in the top 50. I don't know if Quinton Johnston will be, though. Because you look at the target distribution, you had 10 targets to Keenan Allen. So you can see that we also moved up Keenan Allen in our rankings. Now, obviously, he doesn't score as many points, but he still has a phenomenal day. 7 receptions, 68 receiving yards, and the receiving touchdown. But it is very interesting to note the target distribution between Keenan Allen, Quinton Johnston, and Ladd McConkey. They are all right in the same range with their targets. I don't want to, like, obviously there's no world in which I say Ladd McConkey's not going to outscore these other wide receivers rest of the season. Ladd McConkey's the best wide receiver here. He's the youngest wide receiver here. He's going to keep on getting better. Ladd McConkey's going to be great. Don't get me wrong. But, like, and this is what sucks. Like, I got to come on camera. I got to try to update these. I'm going to update these rankings every single day, but typically we can think about it a little bit longer than this, right? Other than just doing instant reactions. If I were to move Ladd McConkey down, if I were to do so, the absolute furthest he could drop would be like wide receiver 13 or 14. He is 100% still in the same tier. He is 100% still ahead of Tyreek Hill. If you wanted to put him at 13, if you wanted to put him at 14, if you wanted to move T. Higgins ahead of him, I'm not going to fault you for it. Because definitely this game was not good for him. Like, to see the fact that you can have Keenan Allen and Quinton Johnston so close to him in targets and Keenan Allen to lead this team in targets, it's not ideal. So I may think about this. I may end up moving Ladd McConkey down. I don't want to overreact too much, so we're going to leave it as is for now. And going over and looking at Justin Herbert, phenomenal performance by Herbert. I still think that Herbert's in the range of guys that you're just effectively kind of streaming every single week. Like, that's what tiers D and E are. I would say tier E, these are quarterbacks that are streamers that you do not roster as unless you have like a bad QB1. Like, quarterbacks in the E tier could very easily be on your waiver wire, and I'm not going to spaz. Quarterbacks in the D tier, I want to roster 2 of these, play the matchups with them, but I'm not trusting any of them every week, regardless of matchup. So I'm going to have Herbert inside that tier. I think that he should be on every roster. Do I think he goes up to the quarterbacks that you're kind of playing regardless of matchup? No, he does not go anywhere close to this range. But I think he should be on every roster. He gives you some sneaky rushing upside. You get 32 rushing yards. Hell, he has almost more than Amarian Hampton, who we're going to have to talk about next. But yeah, nothing changes too much with Herbert. We kind of understand who Herbert is, right? I mean, we are very far into his NFL career at this point. Now, looking at what we have with Amarian Hampton, it's painful because obviously our pickum was trash. I thought Amarian Hampton was going to hit 9.85 fantasy points. I ranked him as somebody that you probably should have started this week as well. And obviously, I'm not in a great spot with his performance in terms of fantasy points today. Because you get 40 rushing yards for Amarian Hampton, 13 receiving yards. If I'm a little mathematician there, that's 61 yards, 2 receptions. So you get 8.1 fantasy points for Hampton. Not great. But look at the opportunities. This is why I was excited about Amarian Hampton, and this is why I thought he was a jam. Like, I'll apologize for the underdog pick'em because obviously I feel horrendous if anybody loses money telling us. But I'm not apologizing for telling you to start Amarian Hampton because I wasn't concerned with Najee Harris, because Najee Harris had had like 2 practices with the Chargers all offseason. Amarian Hampton had 15 carries in comparison to Najee Harris at 1. Amarian Hampton had 2 targets in comparison to Najee at 1. So 17 opportunities in comparison to 2. So if I look at my rest of season rankings, this sounds funny. I know Hampton had a dud if he was in your lineup. I am more excited to start him next week than I was this week. He will be higher in my weekly rankings next week than he was this week. Like, the fantasy points sucked, but the usage was great. And let me move over and look at where we had Najee Harris. I had Najee Harris as like RB52 behind like Isaac Rindo, Jerome Ford. At this point, like, he's just a premium I don't even say a premium handcuff back. He's just a handcuff back. There's no way in hell you could ever start somebody like Najee Harris outside of an injury to Amarian Hampton. So Najee was already extremely low in the rankings, just kind of in the handcuff tier. I think we leave him there, maybe slide him down a bit. Is there anything else worth talking about here? I guess, I know Tyler Conklin scored 7 points, but he had 2 targets. So don't worry about it. Trey Harris looks probably droppable, right? The wide receivers here get 26 targets and 27 total targets, and Trey Harris only has 1 of them. So I had Trey Harris at wide receiver 65. I would rather have Kyle Williams at this point. We'll see what Kyle Williams can do against the Raiders. I would maybe even rather have Jack Besh at this point. But I don't think there's anything else to talk about. I'm just freaking pumped. I'm very sorry. I lost $50 with you on this. I thought the odds of the $50 turning to 400 with Kelsey fewer than 50.5 receiving yards, Mahomes fewer than 19.5 fantasy points, and Hampton to have 9.85 points, I thought they were good. I was clearly wrong, and I owe you a massive, massive apology. But the reason I'm not crying here and the reason I'm like maybe seem to be in a very good mood is this was the best night that possibly could have. I guess like I drafted a decent amount of Xavier Worthy, so the Worthy injury hurts me, but I drafted a hell of a lot more Quinton Johnston than I did Xavier Worthy. So this was a good game for us. We see that Kareem Hunt's going to get used. We see that, dear God, our underdog bags are going to print with Quinton Johnston. And I want to introduce everybody here because I know not everybody here hung out with us in the draft live streams in the offseason, right? Some people here, they don't care about underdog drafts, which completely understandable. You do you. But around these parts, we don't call Quinton Johnston. We call him the Big Q. So get ready to hear us talk about the Big Q a lot during the season, where I thought we were only going to be talking about him in the offseason. And yes, get ready also for the buy low video coming out after week 1, where we are going to be talking about Amarian Hampton, because this was a good game in terms of getting excited about future production. It was just disappointing for the points this week. But I think that's all I got for you in this one. I will remind y'all a couple different things. I'm going to be updating the rankings on flogfantasy.com every single day throughout the entire year, to be completely honest with y'all. I mean, I spend more time on this site than I spend on any other site not named YouTube. If you wanted to see my rankings specifically, these are not my rankings. These are the expert average. We have a lot of experts on flogfantasy.com. If you want to see my rankings, hit sort by Mason Dodd, and then you can see my rankings and you can see the tiers with those players as well. The other thing that I would recommend you do on flogfantasy.com is I would recommend that you go ahead and you link your fantasy football team. Couple different ways that you can do this based off the platform that you're on. If you are on Sleeper, it is incredibly easy. Just go to the URL of your Sleeper league on desktop or go into the league settings on the app. If you're on mobile, copy and paste your league ID, hit here, submit, and it will load your entire league, select your team. It's going to help you a ton when it comes to waiver wire options. We're about to launch some stuff to help you with your starting lineup as well. And you'll be able to see the power rankings in your league and maybe the positions that you actually need to work on. Yahoo, we actually worked with Yahoo for this, so it's very easy. All you got to do is hit submit. It will take you to Yahoo. You log in. Yahoo will send us all your leagues. They're automatically loaded and they will automatically update every single day, every time you open this page. ESPN's the one I know most of y'all play on. And at the same time, I am sorry, ESPN's a little more of a pain in the butt. The other two you can do on mobile. This one you have to do on desktop because you have to get an extension to sync. Trust me, we made this as easy as it can be, and it really does only take about 90 seconds. I would recommend Google Chrome. I'd recommend anything but Safari. Just log into ESPN on one window, log into flogfantasy.com on the other window, hit get extension, go into your extensions, open it, and then when it's open, hit the sync button, and it's going to pull your ESPN leagues into flogfantasy.com. It's a pain in the butt to link it once, but once you do it that one time, you are good to go, and you never have to link again. It's automatically done for you, and everything automatically updates as well. So like you can go through and you can see like, here's how the Flock League looks. And this is based off the expert average rankings. If you sort it by my rankings, which I would make an argument that mine are the best, in terms of how you value the players, then I actually jump to the one spot. Surprise, surprise. I like the players that I drafted a little bit more than the average person does. And then also, again, make sure you're using this waiver wire tool here on the right-hand side for you to figure out who the best waiver wire options are in your league. So you can see best waiver wire options in our league, probably Kareem Hunt, Will Shipley at running back, wide receiver after this game, Quinton Johnston, Rashad Bateman, tight end, Kyle Pitts, quarterback, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert. But I think that's all I got for y'all in this. I'm going to leave the link to flogfantasy.com in the description, comment section, live chat. Free for you to link your team. Free for you to see pretty much all of that except my exact rankings, but you should be able to do everything with the expert average for free. But I think that's all I got for you. Really appreciate you. I really appreciate the big Q. And I hope I get to see you out with the live stream tomorrow night.